Geomancy, also known as feng shui, is an ancient Chinese system of harmonizing qi, life energy, flow in spaces. It believes that the layout and positioning of structures in relation to environmental elements like landscape, water, vegetation, and wind can influence health, prosperity, and well-being of inhabitants. Carefully considering the geomorphic location and orientation of a dwelling is key to creating a balanced and vibrant feng shui. Placement. The ideal site should be positioned with a commanding view, adjacent to a road that leads to opportunity rather than excessive through traffic. It should not be in the path of heavy winds or face stagnant air. The entrance should be clearly visible but not obstruct other important sight lines. The placement of the house should suit its shape and flow of qi for optimal qi distribution. Orientation. The ideal orientation positions the back of the house facing mountains with the front facing a body of water like a lake, river, or ocean. Having wood, east, on the left and fire, south, on the right when entering a home is also considered auspicious. Orient the house to align its front and main rooms to the southern and southeastern aspects, which provide the most beneficial qi. Oppose the orientation that would lead to Zhongjing or stressful facing. Landscape. Having a mountain at the back and water in front of the house, shui shan, is optimal. Hills on the side help support the house qi. Trees can positively influence qi, but dense vegetation close to the house may lead to dampness. Position key rooms and alcoves to align with landscape features when possible. And sloping terrain help water and wind flow smoothly over and around the house. Flat land may allow qi to pool in corners. Water. The presence of rivers, creeks, streams, or lakes in proximity to the house help bring energy and renewal. Running water is ideal, but still water can benefit when not causing dampness or bug infestation. Consider the direction of water flow in relation to the house entrance and rooms. Upstream or downstream positioning of the entrance may affect the qi flow and wealth/health of inhabitants differently. The depth, width, sound, and clarity of water bodies all impact the energy they bring to a space. In summary, key elements of geomorphic location according to feng shui include placement on high ground with a commanding view, orientation aligning the front to the south and southeast, a mountain behind and body of water in front of the house. Landscape elements like hills on the side supporting the structure, and the presence of rivers, streams, or lakes influencing the flow of qi energy. Carefully considering these elements in relation to a home's layout and position helps establish a foundation of vibrant vitality and well-being for inhabitants. The geomancy of location and orientation nourishes both health and prosperity when elements are balanced for optimal qi flow. Environment and structure combine to support vibrant living through feng shui. Geomancy is an ancient practice that is used to create harmony between people and their environment. Geomancy is used to help people find balance and harmony in their environment by understanding the energy of the land and how it affects them. In this essay, we will explore geomancy, how it is used to help people find balance and harmony in their environment. First, we will look at the basics of geomancy and how it is used to help people find balance and harmony in their environment. Geomancy is used to help people find balance and harmony in their environment by understanding the location and orientation of the house. The topography of the land, the waterways, rivers, mountains, lakes, and oceans that surround the house, and the energy of the land. Geomancy is also used to help people understand how the energy of the land affects their lives and how to use the energy of the land to create balance and harmony in their environment. Second, we will consider the importance of the location and orientation of the house in geomancy. The location and orientation of the house are important in geomancy because they can affect the energy of the land and the energy of the people living in the house. It is important to choose a location and orientation for the house that will create balance and harmony in the environment. Third, we will examine the importance of the topography of the land in geomancy. The topography of the land is important in geomancy because it can affect the energy of the land and the energy of the people living in the house. It is important to choose a topography for the land that will create balance and harmony in the environment. Finally, we will discuss the importance of the waterways, rivers, mountains, lakes, and oceans in geomancy. The waterways, rivers, mountains, lakes, and oceans are important in geomancy because they can affect the energy of the land and the energy of the people living in the house. It is important to choose waterways, rivers, mountains, lakes, and oceans that will create balance and harmony in the environment. In conclusion, geomancy is an ancient practice that is used to create harmony between people and their environment. Geomancy is used to help people find balance and harmony in their environment by understanding the location and orientation of the house. The topography of the land, the waterways, rivers, mountains, lakes, and oceans that surround the house, and the energy of the land. It is important to choose a location and orientation for the house, a topography for the land, and waterways, rivers, mountains, lakes, and oceans that will create balance and harmony in the environment. Introduction. Feng Shui is an ancient Chinese practice that is based on the idea that the quality of our environment can have a profound impact on our well-being and success. Feng Shui practitioners believe that by arranging our environment in a particular way, we can create a more harmonious and balanced living space. In this essay, we will explore the importance of location and direction in Feng Shui, including the positioning of a house, the landscape, and the natural elements such as water, hills, mountains, lakes, and oceans. Location and direction of a house. In Feng Shui, the location and direction of a house are critical factors that can affect the energy flow in the environment. The ideal location for a house is on high ground, with a clear view of the surrounding landscape. Introduction. Buddhism is a rich and diverse religion with many different schools and traditions. Each of these schools and traditions has its own unique history, teachings, and practices, which have evolved over time to meet the needs and aspirations of different communities around the world. In this article, we will explore three of the most prominent schools of Buddhism: Zen or Chan, Pure Land, and Theravada. Zen Chan Buddhism. Zen Buddhism, also known as Chan Buddhism, originated in China in the 6th century CE and later spread to Japan and other parts of East Asia. Zen emphasizes the practice of meditation as a means of achieving enlightenment and awakening to the true nature of reality. In Zen Buddhism, the emphasis is on direct experience rather than on intellectual understanding. Zen practitioners use various meditation techniques, such as sitting meditation, zazen, and koan practice, to cultivate mindfulness and awareness and to penetrate the nature of reality. Zen Buddhism also emphasizes the importance of the teacher-student relationship, and many Zen practitioners study with a teacher or master to deepen their practice. Pure Land Buddhism. Pure Land Buddhism originated in China in the 4th century CE and later spread to other parts of East Asia, including Japan, Korea, and Vietnam. Pure Land emphasizes the practice of devotion to Amitabha Buddha, who is believed to preside over a Western Pure Land, or paradise, where beings can attain enlightenment and liberation. In Pure Land Buddhism, the emphasis is on the recitation of the Buddha's name, or Nembutsu, as a means of attaining rebirth in the Pure Land. Pure Land practitioners believe that by reciting the Buddha's name with faith and devotion, they can create the necessary conditions for rebirth in the Pure Land and ultimate liberation from suffering. Pure Land Buddhism also emphasizes the importance of the teacher-student relationship, and many Pure Land practitioners study with a teacher or master to deepen their practice. Theravada Buddhism. Theravada Buddhism, also known as the Way of the Elders, is the oldest surviving school of Buddhism and is practiced primarily in Southeast Asia, including Thailand, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar. Theravada emphasizes the practice of mindfulness and insight meditation as a means of attaining enlightenment and liberation from suffering. In Theravada Buddhism, the emphasis is on the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, which are seen as the foundation of Buddhist practice. Theravada practitioners use various meditation techniques, such as breath meditation and body scanning, to cultivate mindfulness and insight and to penetrate the nature of reality. Theravada Buddhism also emphasizes the importance of the teacher-student relationship, and many Theravada practitioners study with a teacher or master to deepen their practice. Buddhism spread from India to many other Asian countries, developing into a variety of traditions as it adapted to different cultures. While sharing core teachings, each school emphasizes certain practices, concepts, and philosophies over others. The major branches of Buddhism include Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, with numerous lineages and schools within each branch. Zen Buddhism. Zen, or Chan as it is known in China, developed in China and then Japan. It focuses on meditation and direct insight into one's true nature. Zen uses koans, paradoxes, and riddles to transcend conceptual thought. It is known for emphasizing meditation over scripture and a direct master-disciple relationship. Key concepts include non-duality, intuition, and insight. Pure Land Buddhism. This Mahayana school developed in China and later Japan. It emphasizes faith in Amitabha Buddha and his Pure Land, a heavenly paradise from which liberation is easily attained. Devotional practices like chanting Amitabha's name and visualizing his land are key. Pure Land rejects asceticism, holding that faith alone is sufficient for rebirth in the Pure Land. Tiantai Buddhism, also known as Lotus Sutra, Tiantai combines doctrines from multiple Indian Buddhist schools. It teaches that all evolutionary worlds are complementary and interdependent aspects of the thus come one's wisdom. Emptiness, provisional teaching, middle way, and ultimate truth are harmonized in the Tiantai view. This tradition favors meditation, but also respects canonical scriptures. The Lotus Sutra is central to Tiantai teachings. Tibetan Buddhism. Vajrayana Buddhism developed in Tibet, integrating Buddhist teachings with native shamanic practices. It is known for intricate initiations, tantric deities, mandalas, and meditation practices. There are four main schools: Gelug, Kakyu, Nyingma, and Sakya. Tantric practices aim to harness fundamental energies of the psyche to transform ordinary beings into enlightened beings. Key concepts include inseparability of bliss and emptiness. Theravada Buddhism. The dominant tradition in Southeast Asia. It focuses on following the ancient Pali scriptures and the teachings of the Buddha as preserved in the Tripitaka. Theravada aims for liberation through moral conduct, meditation, and wisdom. Key practices include the Noble Eightfold Path, meditation, and monasticism. Concepts of anatta or not-self and impermanence are central. Theravada holds that nirvana can only be reached in this life through individual effort and awakening. In summary, the major branches of Buddhism and schools include Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, Zen, Pure Land, Tiantai, and Tibetan. Each tradition emphasizes certain practices, philosophies, and concepts over others while sharing common beliefs. Understanding the uniqueness of each school provides deeper insight into the diversity and depth of Buddhist wisdom. Like branches from a single tree, each tradition grows from a shared trunk but blossoms in its own way. Studying each leads to a fuller appreciation of their underlying unity. Buddhism is an ancient religion that is based on the teachings of the Buddha. Buddhism is divided into three major schools: Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. The topic of souls and the afterlife has fascinated humanity for centuries. Different cultures and religions have their own beliefs and stories surrounding these concepts. From tales of reincarnation to ghostly apparitions, there are countless strange and mysterious stories that capture our imagination. In this article, we will explore some of the most unusual and intriguing stories about souls. Reincarnation stories. One of the most famous beliefs surrounding souls is reincarnation. The idea that after we die, our soul is reborn into a new body has been part of many cultures for thousands of years. There are numerous stories of people who claim to have memories of past lives. One of the most well-known cases is that of Shanti Devi, an Indian girl who was born in 1926. At the age of 4, she began telling her parents about her past life in a nearby town. She described her former home and family in great detail, and even knew the names of her husband and children. Her parents were skeptical at first, but eventually took her to meet her supposed past life family. To their amazement, Shandi recognized them immediately and was able to recount details about their lives that only the deceased person would have known. Another interesting case is that of James Leininger, an American boy born in 1998. At the age of 2, he began having vivid nightmares about being a World War II fighter pilot. He would scream out names like Natoma and Jack Larson in his sleep, and would draw pictures of planes being shot down. His parents were puzzled by these dreams until they discovered that there was a real Natoma Bay and Jack Larson who had served on an aircraft carrier during the war. They also found evidence that a pilot named James Houston Jr. had been killed in action in the same area where James Leininger said he had flown. Ghost stories. Another common theme in stories about souls is ghosts. The idea that the spirits of the dead can linger on in the world of the living has been part of many cultures throughout history. There are countless tales of ghostly sightings and supernatural occurrences. One such story is that of the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall. This ghostly apparition is said to haunt a stately home in Norfolk, England. According to legend, the Brown Lady is the ghost of Lady Dorothy Walpole, who was married to the owner of the house in the 18th century. She was allegedly locked away in a room for years by her abusive husband and eventually died of smallpox. Her ghost is said to wander the halls of Raynham Hall, dressed in a brown brocade dress, with empty eye sockets and a face that is almost transparent. The Brown Lady has been seen by numerous people over the years, including several members of the royal family. Another famous ghost story is that of the Bell Witch. This legend comes from Tennessee, USA, and tells the tale of a malevolent spirit that haunted a family in the early 19th century. The Bell Witch was said to have been the ghost of a woman named Kate Batts, who had a grudge against John Bell, the patriarch of the family. She tormented the Bells for years, throwing objects around the house, pulling the covers off their beds, and even poisoning John Bell. The Bell Witch was never seen, but her presence was felt by everyone in the family, and many people in the surrounding area. Near-death experiences. Another area of interest when it comes to souls is near-death experiences, NDEs. These are experiences that people report having when they come close to death, such as during a heart attack or accident. NDEs often involve a feeling of leaving the body, floating above it, and observing what is happening around them. Many people who have had NDEs also report encountering a bright light or tunnel and feeling a sense of peace and love. One famous example of a near-death experience is that of Pam Reynolds, an American singer who underwent brain surgery in 1991. During the operation, her brain was cooled to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, effectively shutting down all brain activity. Yet, when she regained consciousness, she was able to describe in detail what had happened during the surgery, including conversations between the doctors and the sound of the bone saw. Another fascinating story is that of Eben Alexander, a neurosurgeon who had a near-death experience in 2008. He was in a coma for 7 days due to meningitis, during which time he had a vivid experience of being in a beautiful, otherworldly place. He saw a woman who he believed was his deceased sister, and communicated with beings who he described as angels. When he recovered, Alexander became convinced that there is an afterlife, despite being a skeptic before his experience. Reincarnation stories are some of the most intriguing and mysterious stories about the human soul. The belief that souls are reborn into new bodies after death is a common theme in many cultures and religions around the world. While some dismiss reincarnation as superstition, there are many people who claim to have memories of past lives that cannot be easily explained. One of the most famous cases of reincarnation is that of Shanti Devi, an Indian girl born in 1926. At the age of 4, she began telling her parents about her past life in a nearby town. She described her former home and family in great detail, and even knew the names of her husband and children. Her parents were skeptical at first, but eventually took her to meet her supposed past life family. To their amazement, Shanti recognized them immediately and was able to recount details about their lives that only the deceased person would have known. Another interesting case is that of James Leininger, an American boy born in 1998. At the age of 2, he began having vivid nightmares about being a World War II fighter pilot. He would scream out names like Natoma and Jack Larson in his sleep, and would draw pictures of planes being shot down. His parents were puzzled by these dreams until they discovered that there was a real Natoma Bay and Jack Larson who had served on an aircraft carrier during the war. They also found evidence that a pilot named James Houston Jr. had been killed in action in the same area where James Leininger said he had flown. Buddhism is a vast and diverse religion that has numerous teachings, beliefs, and practices. Sutra Keen Dai Bao the M or the Great Compassion Mantra Sutra is one of the essential scriptures in Mahayana Buddhism. This sutra is known for its powerful mantra, which is believed to bring about healing, protection, and spiritual blessings. However, the Great Compassion Mantra Sutra is not the only scripture in Buddhism that is revered by its followers. In this article, we will explore the similarities and differences between the Great Compassion Mantra Sutra and other Buddhist scriptures. The Great Compassion Mantra Sutra. The Great Compassion Mantra Sutra is a text that contains the powerful mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, which is chanted by millions of Buddhists around the world. This sutra emphasizes the importance of compassion and the Bodhisattva path, which is the path of the enlightened being who vows to help all sentient beings attain liberation from suffering. The Great Compassion Mantra Sutra also contains teachings on the nature of reality, the impermanence of all things, and the law of cause and effect. Similarities. One of the significant similarities between the Great Compassion Mantra Sutra and other Buddhist scriptures is the emphasis on compassion. Compassion is considered one of the fundamental principles in Buddhism, and it is a quality that all Buddhists strive to develop. Compassion is essential because it helps us to understand the suffering of others and to develop a sense of empathy and kindness towards them. Another similarity is the emphasis on the Bodhisattva path. The Bodhisattva path is the path of the enlightened being who vows to help all sentient beings attain liberation from suffering. This path is based on the understanding that all beings are interconnected, and therefore, the suffering of one being affects all beings. The Bodhisattva path is also based on the principle of non-duality, which means that there is no separation between self and other. Differences. Although the Great Compassion Mantra Sutra shares some similarities with other Buddhist scriptures, it also has some significant differences. One of the differences is the emphasis on the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. This mantra is considered one of the most potent mantras in Buddhism, and it is believed to bring about healing, protection, and spiritual blessings. This mantra is not found in other Buddhist scriptures, and it is unique to the Great Compassion Mantra Sutra. Another difference is the focus on the figure of Avalokitesvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. Avalokitesvara is the central figure in the Great Compassion Mantra Sutra, and this sutra contains numerous stories and teachings about Avalokitesvara. In contrast, other Buddhist scriptures may focus on different bodhisattvas or the Buddha himself. The Great Compassion Mantra Sutra is also known as the Avalokitesvara Sutra or the Heart Sutra of Avalokitesvara. It is a Mahayana Buddhist text that is considered one of the most important sutras in the Mahayana tradition. This sutra is a collection of teachings and stories that emphasize the power of compassion, the Bodhisattva path, and the nature of reality. The Great Compassion Mantra Sutra is believed to have originated in India around the 7th century CE and was translated into Chinese by the monk Xuanzang in the 7th century CE. It is now widely practiced in East Asia, particularly in China, Japan, Korea, and Vietnam. One of the key teachings of the Great Compassion Mantra Sutra is the importance of compassion. The sutra states that compassion is the root of all good qualities and the foundation of the Bodhisattva path. Compassion is not just an emotional response, but it is also an active force that drives us to take action to help others. Through compassion, we can develop a sense of empathy and kindness towards all sentient beings. Another important teaching in the Great Compassion Mantra Sutra is the Bodhisattva path. The Bodhisattva path is the path of the enlightened being who vows to help all sentient beings attain liberation from suffering. The Bodhisattva path is based on the understanding that all beings are interconnected, and therefore, the suffering of one being affects all beings. The Bodhisattva path is also based on the principle of non-duality, which means that there is no separation between self and other. The Great Compassion Mantra Sutra also contains teachings on the nature of reality, the impermanence of all things, and the law of cause and effect. The sutra teaches that all phenomena are empty of inherent existence, and that our attachment to them is the root of our suffering. The sutra also teaches that all actions have consequences, and that our actions can either lead us towards liberation or perpetuate our cycle of suffering. One of the most powerful aspects of the Great Compassion Mantra Sutra is the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. This mantra is considered one of the most potent mantras in Buddhism, and it is believed to bring about healing, protection, and spiritual blessings. The mantra is a 6-syllable mantra that is chanted by millions of Buddhists around the world. The syllables of the mantra are believed to represent the 6 realms of existence and the 6 paramitas or perfections of the Bodhisattva. Overall, the Great Compassion Mantra Sutra is a text that contains powerful teachings and practices that can help us develop compassion, wisdom, and the Bodhisattva path. It is a text that is revered by millions of Buddhists around the world, and it continues to inspire and guide practitioners on their spiritual journey towards liberation. Om Mani Padme Hum is a 6-syllable mantra that is chanted by millions of Buddhists around the world. It is considered one of the most potent mantras in Buddhism and is widely used in many traditions, particularly in Mahayana and Vajrayana Buddhism. The mantra is closely associated with the Bodhisattva of compassion, Avalokitesvara, and is believed to bring about healing, protection, and spiritual blessings. Each syllable of the mantra has a specific meaning and represents different aspects of the Buddhist path. The first syllable, Om, is believed to represent the sound of the universe and the awakening of our own Buddha nature. The second syllable, Ma, represents the deity Avalokitesvara, who embodies compassion and is the embodiment of the Bodhisattva path. The third syllable, Ni, represents the desire to cultivate pure ethics, and the fourth syllable, Pad, represents the wisdom of emptiness or the realization of the nature of reality. The fifth syllable, Mi, represents the altruistic intention to help others, and the final syllable, Hum, represents the union of wisdom and compassion. The combination of these syllables in the mantra is believed to help practitioners develop compassion, wisdom, and the Bodhisattva path. Chanting the mantra is considered a form of meditation and is often done with a mala, a string of prayer beads. The practitioner recites the mantra while moving the beads with their fingers, repeating the mantra 108 times or more. This practice helps to cultivate mindfulness and concentration and helps to purify the mind of negative thoughts and emotions. The Great Compassion Mantra Sutra is often associated with the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, and many Buddhists recite this mantra as a form of devotion and to seek the blessings of Avalokitesvara. The celebration of Buddha's enlightenment, known as Buddha Day or Vesak, is an important festival for millions of Buddhists around the world. This holiday, which commemorates the birth, enlightenment, and death of the Buddha, is one of the most significant events in the Buddhist calendar. In this article, we will delve deeper into the origins and significance of Buddha Day, and explore how this festival is celebrated in different parts of the world. The significance of Buddha Day. Buddha Day, also known as Vesak, celebrates the birth, enlightenment, and death of the Buddha. The exact date of Buddha Day varies depending on the tradition, but it usually falls on the full moon day in the month of May. This day is significant because it marks the moment when the Buddha achieved enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, becoming a fully awakened being. The Buddha's enlightenment was a profound realization that all suffering arises from attachment and craving, and that the way to end suffering is to cultivate detachment and mindfulness. This realization led to the creation of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, which serve as the foundation of Buddhist philosophy and practice. The origins of Buddha Day. The origins of Buddha Day can be traced back to ancient India, where it was initially celebrated as a harvest festival. Over time, the festival evolved to become a celebration of the Buddha's enlightenment, as well as a commemoration of his birth and death. The festival is also known as Vesak, which is derived from the Sanskrit word Vaishakha, the name of the month in which the Buddha was born. Celebrating Buddha Day around the world. Buddha Day is celebrated in many different ways around the world. In Buddhist countries such as Thailand, Sri Lanka, and Cambodia, the festival is marked by elaborate processions, temple decorations, and offerings of food and flowers to the Buddha. In some countries, such as Japan, Buddha Day is celebrated as a public holiday, with many businesses and schools closed for the day. In addition to traditional Buddhist practices, Buddha Day is also celebrated in more contemporary ways. For example, in some parts of the world, Buddhists organize meditation retreats, lectures, and other events to mark the occasion. In recent years, there has also been a growing trend of celebrating Buddha Day as an eco-friendly holiday, with a focus on environmental conservation and sustainability. The significance of Buddha Day, also known as Vesak, goes beyond just commemorating the birth, enlightenment, and death of the Buddha. It is a day that serves as a reminder of the Buddha's teachings, which have had a profound impact on the world for over 2,500 years. The Buddha's enlightenment under the Bodhi tree is considered by many to be one of the most important events in human history. It was a moment of profound insight and understanding that transformed the Buddha from a prince named Siddhartha Gautama into a fully awakened being known as the Buddha. This realization led him to discover the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, which serve as the foundation of Buddhist philosophy and practice. The Four Noble Truths are: the truth of suffering. Life is characterized by suffering, dissatisfaction, and impermanence. The truth of the cause of suffering. Suffering arises from craving and attachment. The truth of the end of suffering. It is possible to end suffering by overcoming craving and attachment. The truth of the path to the end of suffering. The Eightfold Path is the way to end suffering. The Eightfold Path consists of right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These teachings have had a profound impact on the world, shaping the lives of millions of people and influencing the development of other religions and philosophies. Buddha Day is a day for Buddhists to reflect on the Buddha's teachings and the significance of his enlightenment. It is a time for meditation, contemplation, and reflection on the nature of reality and the path to liberation from suffering. It is also a time for Buddhists to come together and celebrate their shared beliefs and practices. In addition to its spiritual significance, Buddha Day has also become an important cultural and social event in many parts of the world. It is a time for communities to come together and celebrate their shared heritage and traditions. This celebration often includes music, dance, food, and other cultural activities. The origins of Buddha Day, also known as Vesak, can be traced back to ancient India, where it was initially celebrated as a harvest festival. The festival was a time for farmers to celebrate the end of the harvest season and offer thanks to the gods for a successful harvest. Over time, the festival evolved to become a celebration of the Buddha's enlightenment, as well as a commemoration of his birth and death. According to Buddhist tradition, the Buddha was born in Lumbini, in present-day Nepal, around 563 BCE. He achieved enlightenment under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, in present-day India, around the age of 35. And he passed away in Kushinagar, in present-day India, around the age of 80. The festival is also known as Vesak, which is derived from the Sanskrit word Vaishakha, the name of the month in which the Buddha was born. In some Buddhist countries, such as Thailand and Sri Lanka, the festival is also known as Visakhabuka. The earliest recorded celebration of Vesak was in 249 BCE, during the reign of Emperor Ashoka of the Maurya Empire. Ashoka was a patron of Buddhism and is credited with spreading the teachings of the Buddha throughout his empire. He ordered the celebration of Vesak as a public holiday, with the release of prisoners, the donation of food and clothing to the poor, and the lighting of lamps and the decoration of homes and temples with flowers. The celebration of Vesak continued to spread throughout Asia, with each country adapting the festival to their own cultural traditions. In Thailand, for example, Vesak is celebrated with a week-long holiday that includes processions, temple decorations, and offerings of food and flowers to the Buddha. In Sri Lanka, Vesak is marked by the lighting of thousands of colorful lanterns and the chanting of Buddhist scriptures. In recent years, Vesak has become an increasingly global celebration, with Buddhists around the world coming together to mark the occasion. It is now celebrated in many countries, including the United States, Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom. Buddha Day, also known as Vesak, is celebrated in many different ways around the world. The festival is a time for Buddhists to come together to commemorate the Buddha's life and teachings, and to celebrate their shared heritage and traditions. In Buddhist philosophy, the concept of the four foundations of mindfulness, or the four establishments of mindfulness, is a cornerstone of daily practice. These four foundations, or tu tru in Vietnamese, serve as a framework for cultivating mindfulness in everyday life. In this article, we will explore the four foundations of mindfulness, and how they can help us to achieve enlightenment in our daily lives. The four foundations of mindfulness. The four foundations of mindfulness are: mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of mind, mindfulness of phenomena. Each of these foundations represents a different aspect of our experience, and they are all interconnected. By cultivating mindfulness in each of these areas, we can deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us, and develop the wisdom and insight necessary for enlightenment. Mindfulness of the body. The first foundation of mindfulness is mindfulness of the body. This involves paying attention to our physical sensations, movements, and posture. By being mindful of our body, we can cultivate a deeper sense of awareness and connection with our physical experience. This foundation also involves being mindful of the impermanence and interdependence of our physical bodies. Mindfulness of feelings. The second foundation of mindfulness is mindfulness of feelings. This involves being aware of our emotions and how they arise and pass away. By cultivating mindfulness of our feelings, we can develop greater emotional resilience and insight into the causes and conditions of our emotions. Mindfulness of mind. The third foundation of mindfulness is mindfulness of mind. This involves being aware of our thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes. By cultivating mindfulness of our mind, we can develop greater clarity and insight into our habitual patterns of thought and behavior, and begin to free ourselves from negative and unhelpful thought patterns. Mindfulness of phenomena. The fourth foundation of mindfulness is mindfulness of phenomena. This involves being aware of the interdependence and impermanence of all phenomena, both internal and external. By cultivating mindfulness of phenomena, we can develop a deeper understanding of the nature of reality and our place within it, and begin to let go of attachment and aversion to the things that we encounter in our daily lives. The role of the four foundations of mindfulness in daily life. The four foundations of mindfulness are not just theoretical concepts or abstract ideas, they are practical tools that can be applied in our daily lives. By cultivating mindfulness in each of these areas, we can develop greater awareness, insight, and wisdom in our interactions with the world around us. For example, By being mindful of our body, we can improve our physical health and well being, as well as develop greater awareness of our physical limitations and needs. By being mindful of our feelings, we can develop greater emotional intelligence and resilience, and learn to respond to challenging situations with greater clarity and equanimity. By being mindful of our mind, we can begin to recognize and transform negative and unhelpful thought patterns, and cultivate greater mental clarity and focus. And by being mindful of phenomena, we can develop a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness and impermanence of all things. And begin to let go of attachment and aversion to the things that we encounter in our daily lives. Mindfulness of the body is the first foundation of mindfulness, or tu true in Vietnamese. It involves cultivating a deeper awareness of our physical sensations, movements, and posture. This foundation is important because our physical experience is the foundation of our overall well-being and is intimately connected to our emotional, mental, and spiritual states. There are several ways to cultivate mindfulness of the body. One way is to practice body scan meditation, which involves systematically bringing attention to different parts of the body and noticing any sensations that arise. This practice can help us to become more aware of the subtle sensations that often go unnoticed in our daily lives, and can help us to develop a greater sense of connection and presence in our bodies. Another way to cultivate mindfulness of the body is through mindful movement practices such as yoga, tai chi, or qigong. These practices involve bringing awareness to the sensations and movements of the body in a focused and intentional way. They can help us to develop greater physical strength, flexibility, and balance, as well as cultivate a deeper sense of awareness and connection with our bodies. Mindfulness of the body can also be cultivated in our daily lives through simple practices such as mindful walking, mindful eating, and mindful breathing. These practices involve bringing attention to the physical sensations of the body as we move, eat, or breathe. By cultivating mindfulness in these everyday activities, we can develop a greater sense of awareness and appreciation for the physical experience of life. The benefits of cultivating mindfulness of the body are numerous. By becoming more aware of our physical sensations and movements, we can develop a greater sense of embodiment and presence in our lives. We can also become more attuned to the needs of our bodies, and learn to respond to physical discomfort or pain with greater compassion and care. Mindfulness of the body can also help us to cultivate a sense of gratitude and appreciation for the physical experience of life, and to develop a deeper understanding of the interdependence of our physical selves with the world around us. The second foundation of mindfulness, or tu true in Vietnamese, is mindfulness of feelings. This foundation involves cultivating awareness of our emotions and how they arise and pass away. By developing mindfulness of our feelings, we can develop greater emotional intelligence and resilience, and learn to respond to challenging situations with greater clarity and equanimity. There are several ways to cultivate mindfulness of feelings. One way is to practice meditation on emotions, which involves bringing attention to the physical sensations and mental states associated with different emotions. This practice can help us to become more aware of the physical and mental components of our emotions, and can help us to develop greater skill in regulating our emotional responses. Another way to cultivate mindfulness of feelings is through reflective practices, as journaling or contemplation. These practices involve reflecting on our emotional experiences and how they relate to our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. By cultivating greater self-awareness of our emotional patterns and tendencies, we can develop greater insight into the causes and conditions of our emotions, and learn to respond to them with greater skill and wisdom. Mindfulness of feelings can also be cultivated in our daily lives through simple practices such as checking in with ourselves throughout the day and noticing our emotional states. By bringing attention to our feelings in this way, we can develop a greater sense of awareness and understanding of our emotional experience. There are many sacred places around the world that are considered to be holy and hold immense cultural and spiritual significance for people. These places have been revered and visited by people for centuries, with many of them still attracting large numbers of visitors today. In this article, we will explore some of the most sacred places in the world, their history, and significance. The Ganges River, India. The Ganges River is considered one of the most sacred places in India and is revered as a goddess. It is believed that a dip in the river can purify one's sins and grant liberation from the cycle of birth and death. The Ganges is also an important pilgrimage site, with millions of people visiting every year during the Kumbh Mela, a Hindu festival that takes place every 12 years. Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Mecca is the holiest city in Islam and the birthplace of Prophet Muhammad. It is the site of the Kaaba, a black cubic structure that is considered the most sacred place in Islam. Muslims from all over the world visit Mecca during the annual Hajj pilgrimage, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Jerusalem, Israel. Jerusalem is a holy city for Jews, Christians, and Muslims. It is the site of the Western Wall, which is the last remaining wall of the ancient Jewish temple, and the Dome of the Rock, which is a Muslim shrine that houses the rock from which Muhammad is believed to have ascended to heaven. Jerusalem is also the site of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is believed to be the location where Jesus was crucified and buried. Varanasi, India. Varanasi is considered one of the oldest cities in the world and is known as the spiritual capital of India. It is situated on the banks of the Ganges River and is a significant pilgrimage site for Hindus. It is believed that dying in Varanasi and having one's ashes scattered in the Ganges can lead to salvation. Lourdes, France. Lourdes is a small town in the south of France that is considered a major Catholic pilgrimage site. It is the site where the Virgin Mary is believed to have appeared to a young girl named Bernadette Soubirous in 1858. The town is famous for its healing waters, and many people believe that bathing in the waters can cure illnesses. Mount Kailash, Tibet. Mount Kailash is considered one of the most sacred places in the world for Hindus, Buddhists, and Jains. It is located in Tibet and is believed to be the abode of Lord Shiva, one of the most important gods in Hinduism. It is also believed to be the source of 4 of the world's major rivers, including the Ganges. Uluru, Australia. Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock, is a massive sandstone monolith located in the heart of Australia's Northern Territory. It is considered a sacred site for the Anang people, the traditional owners of the land. The rock is believed to have spiritual significance, and climbing it is considered disrespectful to the Anang people and their culture. Machu Picchu, Peru. Machu Picchu is an ancient Incan city located high in the Andes Mountains of Peru. It was built in the 15th century and is considered one of the most important archaeological sites in the world. It is believed to have been a religious and spiritual center for the Inca people and is considered a sacred site by many indigenous communities in Peru. Bodh Gaya, India. Bodh Gaya is the site where the Buddha is believed to have attained enlightenment. It is located in the Indian state of Bihar and is considered one of the most important pilgrimage sites for Buddhists. The Mahabodhi Temple, which is located in Bodh Gaya, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is believed to be the spot where the Buddha sat under a tree and attained enlightenment. Stonehenge, England. Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument located in Wiltshire, England. It is believed to have been built around 2500 BC and is considered one of the most important archaeological sites in the world. The purpose of Stonehenge is still a mystery, but it is believed to have been used as a sacred site for ceremonies and rituals. The Ganges River, also known as the Ganga, is a major river in the Indian subcontinent, and is considered one of the most sacred places in India. The river is believed to have been created by Lord Shiva, one of the most important gods in Hinduism, and is revered as a goddess by Hindus. The Ganges is not only an important religious site but also a vital lifeline for millions of people who live along its banks. The river flows through several major cities in India, including Varanasi, Haridwar, and Allahabad, and supports a large population of fishermen and farmers who rely on it for their livelihoods. For Hindus, the Ganges River is a source of spiritual purification and is believed to be the path to salvation. It is believed that taking a dip in the river can wash away one's sins and grant liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Many Hindus also believe that dying on the banks of the Ganges or having one's ashes scattered in the river can lead to salvation. The Ganges River is also an important pilgrimage site, with millions of people visiting every year during the Kumbh Mela, a Hindu festival that takes place every 12 years. During the festival, devotees come from all over India and the world to take a dip in the river and seek blessings from the gods. Despite its cultural and spiritual significance, the Ganges River is facing a number of environmental challenges. The river is heavily polluted due to industrial waste, sewage, and other forms of pollution, which is causing serious health problems for people who rely on the river for their water supply. The Indian government has launched several initiatives to clean up the river and protect its ecological and cultural significance. Mecca, also known as Makkah, is the holiest city in Islam and is located in the western region of Saudi Arabia. It is the birthplace of the Prophet Muhammad, the founder of Islam, and is home to the Kaaba, a black cubic structure that is considered the most sacred place in Islam. For Muslims, Mecca is a site of great spiritual significance, and all able-bodied Muslims are required to make a pilgrimage to the city at least once in their lifetime, a journey known as the Hajj. The Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, which are the foundation of Muslim faith and practice. During the Hajj, millions of Muslims from all over the world come together to perform a series of rituals and prayers. The rituals include the Tawaf, which involves circling the Kaaba 7 times, and the Sa'i, which involves walking 7 times between the hills of Safa and Marwa. The city of Mecca is also home to several other important Islamic sites, including the Prophet's Mosque in nearby Medina, which is the burial place of the Prophet Muhammad. The city is also home to the Grand Mosque, which is the largest mosque in the world and can accommodate up to 2 million worshippers during the Hajj. Mecca is a highly regulated city, and non-Muslims are not allowed to enter. Only Muslims who have obtained a special visa are allowed to enter the city, and there are strict rules and regulations governing behavior and dress during the pilgrimage. Despite its significance as a religious site, Mecca has faced several challenges in recent years, including overcrowding during the Hajj and concerns over the preservation of historic sites in the city. The Saudi government has launched several initiatives to address these challenges, including the expansion of the Grand Mosque and the development of new infrastructure to accommodate the growing number of pilgrims.